Last day with stock fenders. Replacing the fenders tomorrow. About a 9 3/4 inch wheel gap with the stock fenders. Just under a 10-inch wheel gap to about a 12.5-inch wheel gap now. Monster wheel gap. Wide body fiberglass fenders for 92 to 2007 Ford Econoline E-Series Vans. If you want these fenders, you can get a set for the introductory price of $500. You could live anywhere from Los Angeles to San Diego, and my buddy will deliver these for $500 in that driving range. So my buddy made these fenders. He has experience with fiberglass, and he was actually inspired by all my lifted van meet videos. He bought a Ford Econoline RV and ran across my channel just watching Ford Econoline content. He ended up buying another Ford Econoline to start making fiberglass parts for them. So he asked me if I could promote his product, and he gave me a free set of fenders. And I took it a step further by documenting what it takes to install these. So I will share the details here in a second. I just want to share the install process and the other products on the market, the other fiberglass fenders on the market. Flying J lifted van crew and a lowrider. What's going on with this lowrider here? Something special going on with this lowrider. Look at that fender. It was such a nice gesture to get these fenders for free. All I have to do is promote them. I'm not getting any commission for this. It was such a nice gift. I told my buddy I don't want any commission, man. Just thank you for the fenders. I will get them on my van as soon as possible. So first thing I did was go on YouTube to look up what it took to remove the OEM fenders. And I want to give a shout out to Carl Kenyon here for his Ford Van E150 fender removal video. It's always nice when people give you credit for your videos, so I appreciate the video, buddy. As soon as I watched it, I told myself I could do this over the 24th and 25th of December. Looks simple enough. Other than my friend's fiberglass fenders that he makes himself, it looks like all the other wide body fiberglass fenders on the market is sourced from the same company, sold on different websites. This website is Far From Stock 577, and you will notice the same van in every picture. Weltec has them for $550. This is Octane Motorsports. They want $800 for them. Same van. And then here's another one, and it's gonna be the same van right there, $750. This is Advanced Fiberglass Concepts. So my friend is selling these for $500, and if you're in the Los Angeles all the way to San Diego area, it's still $500. He will deliver them to you for $500. That's cost of the fenders, that's cost of delivery. So he has the best fitting product on the market for the cheapest price. So this is the big one with this product. I was studying the product, and all these companies require fabrication. You got to drill the fender is basically a mold, and when you look at Octane Motorsports website, it looks like generic instructions where they tell you you might not reuse all the factory hardware, you might have to do some cutting, you know, it takes time to get it to fit right. So basically the products on the market are a mold, and then when you look at Weldtech's website, when you click on install labor, this should tell the tale right here for you guys. The install labor is 6 hours at $900, because like I said, you got to cut your own holes, and sometimes you got to trim some pieces off your you know, factory ride, like, you know, cut some sheet metal. Sometimes it's stated in the instructions to get these to fit, so just go ahead and study the fiberglass fender install videos on YouTube and you'll see for yourself. Weldtech has some excellent instructions on how to install the fiberglass fenders. I just basically use their instructions as a reference on the tools I'm going to need to install these, and yeah, they state that you need to drill your own holes right there, and you cutting may be required. Cutting into the factory sheet metal may be required because of the nature of fiberglass fenders, fiberglass products. It looks like that's the standard in the industry. So yeah, drilling and cutting is required. So let me go ahead and share my friend's product in more detail. My buddy wanted to create a direct fit fiberglass fender for these vans, and he got close. I went ahead and gave him a call to let him know my experience, and I told him it wasn't a 100% direct bolt-in fit for me, but it took very little fabrication, and I wanted to run that by him before I made this video. And he said, "That's cool, man, be honest in your video." So driver's side, perfect install, no problems at all with the driver's side, no fabrication at all needed, direct bolt-in installation for the driver's side. So when you study the other products on the market, you have to drill your own holes. You even have to notch this part yourself. My buddy has all the holes drilled in, and he even notched this part. I'm going to share my install notes later, the important footage for like the little things with this install. The factory bolt wasn't reused here. I had to use an aftermarket, or, you know, off the shelf bolt, washer, and nut. So right there. But this was easy to get to. This was supposed to be the hardest bolts to get to. You're gonna have to remove the grill and the core support to get to everything, but this wasn't as hard as people were saying it would be. It was really easy to take these off, actually. If you wake up early in the morning, you could probably do this in one day. You might need to do a hardware run, but here's the bolts needed. We got 2 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there, 7 right there, and 8. So driver's side, direct fit. It will definitely be nice to have someone help you, because you want to position this, make sure it clears the hood. Like my friend gave you some wiggle room. The way the bolt holes are, you have wiggle room. So if you have a friend, you could kind of find the right position. You don't want the door opening into the fender, so you got to make sure you got all the clearance for the door and the hood closing. So a helping hand would be nice to get this all right, but all you got to do is position everything. He gave you just enough margin of error so you could shimmy it a little bit. So driver's side, 100% direct fit for the driver's side. Okay, here's where it wasn't 100% direct fit for me. So the holes he provided here, I had to drill just a little more up top. See, you could see the little gap here where the paint is. So I had to drill just a millimeter. I needed a millimeter so I could shift it a little bit more. So this is where I ran into problems, and this is where I let them know where I ran into problems. So the fiberglass is so thick on his product that I had to cut it. So that's where the factory bolt location is. but his fiberglass was so thick that it was pushing back way too far. So I just simply cut the tabs. So there's the other mounting point right there. So I just cut the inner tabs to get it to fit, because this fiberglass is so thick that it was like right up against the door and I couldn't open the door. And that's why I said you gotta, a helping hand would be nice so you could shift it until you could find the right positioning. So yeah, right there, I just cut it. There's a factory, there's a tab and the factory mounting bolt. It was so thick that it was just pushing the fiberglass forward way too much and it was rubbing up against the door. So I just cut those two tabs and I drilled these three holes up top right here. Just a little bit. I just needed a little bit to shift it, to be able to shift it until I found the spacing I needed. This little notch right here, that's for the antenna. I might put that in later. There's oh yeah, the lining. You don't need the lining anymore. So the antenna's tucked up there, the wiring for the antenna. So yeah, I just painted it black because this was blue, because the fender lining used to be down here, but these fenders are so tall, like it's like a 2.5 inch rise of wheel well gap. So yeah, the fender lining goes all the way down here, so it wasn't usable anymore. So if I ever do want to put the antenna in, that's no problem. I don't need to take these out. I could just drill a hole up here and put the antenna mounting point. But yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys. This took a little tweaking on the passenger side. But there it is, everything closes. Now if you don't want to cut the inner tabs for this, you could always sand it down. If you want to be more precise than me, you could always sand the little tabs, because like I said, they're really thick on this. So if you want to be more precise than me, you could always sand that down. But other than that, it looks like the body lines match up well. So there it is. That's my experience installing my buddy's wide body fiberglass fenders. I will share more notes with you guys right now. So on this mounting bolt right here, I actually added 3 washers right there, right between this gap, to bring out the fender just a little more, since I did cut the mounting tab. Like I said, if you want to be more precise than me, you could always grind this tab until you find the clearance you need. Like I said, the fiberglass on this is really thick, thicker than the OEM steel. So a couple washers here just to bring the fender out a little bit more. The 2 bolts right here were supposed to be the most challenging ones. We got it fairly easy. My dad's helping me out with this. So right there, 2 bolts right there. And then we had to take out the support. I'll show you guys that later. One side is off. It wasn't too bad. And then we're gonna reuse the hardware, the existing hardware. Here's the other side. The stock fender liner isn't gonna work, so I covered up the holes. So this is all gonna be painted black once the new fenders are in on both sides. Part of the process to getting to the bolts to get to the fenders is removing this middle support. The 4 bolts I will not be reusing is the ones at the end, because the clips are too thin for the fiberglass. The fiberglass is really thick, so I'm not able to reuse the clips. So these 4 bolts I'm not reusing, I'm just zip tying. But I still have these bolts right here, so that should be fine. It's nice and solid. I wasn't able to reuse these clips because the new fiberglass part behind the bolt here, the bolt opening, is just way too thick. just for these 4 parts on each side. Right there. These new fiberglass fenders are so thick that the factory hardware on the stock fenders, the clips no longer fit because this is so thick. So I just used zip ties right there on the core support on both sides. One more look at the new Monster wheel gap. These are 33-inch tires, so if you want to stuff 35s in your lifted van, you got all kinds of space now. And the fenders actually move back a little bit, so look at all that space. And then obviously I painted this black since the old fender trim, the fender liner came down to here. That's all that new wheel gap. So this was blue, so I just painted it black.